You use it almost every day. You press a few buttons, wait 90 seconds, and your food is hot. You probably never once thought about the machine doing it. But the microwave oven exists because a man with a chocolate bar in his pocket stood too close to a piece of military equipment. And that man had no college degree, no engineering diploma, no formal training of any kind. His name was Percy Spencer, and the story of how he accidentally heated his own lunch and changed the way the entire world cooks is one of the strangest accidents in the history of technology. To understand how it happened, you have to go back to the Second World War, not to the battlefields, not to the generals, to a laboratory in Waltham, Massachusetts, where a company called Raytheon was building something the military desperately needed, a device called a magnetron. A magnetron is a vacuum tube that generates high-powered microwave radiation. That sounds complicated, but all it really means is that it creates an invisible beam of energy at a very specific frequency. The military used this beam for radar, the technology that lets you detect enemy aircraft before you can see them. Radar helped the Allies win the war, and Raytheon made more magnetrons than almost anyone else. By 1945, they were producing thousands of them every single day. Percy Spencer was the engineer leading much of that work. He was Raytheon's most respected researcher. He held patents on improvements to the magnetron that made mass production possible. But here's the part that makes his story remarkable. Percy Spencer never finished grammar school. He was born in 1894 in a small town in Maine. His father died when he was a baby. His mother abandoned him. He was raised by an aunt and an uncle, and by the time he was 12, he was working in a textile mill to survive. He taught himself physics. He taught himself engineering. He taught himself mathematics by reading every book he could find and solving problems by candlelight. By the time the war started, this self-educated orphan was one of the most sought-after radar engineers in the United States. In 1945, Spencer was standing in front of an active magnetron during a routine test. This was something he did regularly. The magnetron was running. Microwaves were being generated, and Spencer noticed something peculiar. The chocolate bar in his shirt pocket had melted. Now anyone else might have wiped it off and moved on, but Spencer was a born tinkerer. He had spent his entire life asking why things behave the way they do. If a magnetron could melt chocolate through his pocket and his shirt without him feeling any heat, something interesting was happening. So he tested it. The next day, he brought popcorn kernels into the lab and placed them near the magnetron. The kernels popped, every single one of them. The other engineers must have thought he was losing his mind. A senior researcher standing in a military laboratory, watching popcorn explode in front of a radar component. But Spencer was not done. He brought in an egg. He placed it near the magnetron. The egg began to heat rapidly, and then it exploded, right in the face of a colleague who was standing too close. That one exploding egg, was the moment the microwave oven was born. Spencer understood immediately what was happening. The magnetron was emitting electromagnetic waves at a frequency of about 2.45 gigahertz. That frequency is special. It is absorbed by water molecules. When microwaves hit food, which is full of water, the water molecules start vibrating at incredible speed. That vibration creates friction. And friction creates heat. The food cooks from the inside out, not because of fire, not because of a hot surface, because invisible waves are making the water inside your dinner shake itself into a frenzy. This is why your microwave heats a wet burrito faster than a dry cracker. Water is the target. The microwave is essentially a water-shaking machine. Raytheon filed a patent on the idea in October of 1945. Spencer's name was on it. U.S. Patent number 2,495,429, filed by the Raytheon Manufacturing Company with Percy Spencer listed as the inventor. The patent described a method of cooking food using microwave energy. It was the first time anyone had ever done this deliberately. But the first microwave oven was nothing like the one sitting in your kitchen. It was called the Radarange, a name that made it clear this thing came straight out of radar technology. The first Radarange stood nearly 6 feet tall. It weighed about 750 pounds. It cost $5,000, which, adjusted for inflation, would be over $65,000 today. It needed its own water supply to cool the magnetron. It was the size of a refrigerator and the price of a car. Obviously, nobody was putting this in their apartment. The Radarange was sold to restaurants, railroad dining cars, and ocean liners. Places where you needed to heat a lot of food fast and had the space and money for industrial equipment. For nearly 2 decades, the microwave remained a curiosity for the rich and the commercial. What changed everything was not a breakthrough in cooking. It was a breakthrough in the magnetron itself. In the 1960s, engineers at Japanese companies, particularly Sharp and other electronics manufacturers, figured out how to make magnetrons dramatically smaller and cheaper. The original magnetrons designed for wartime radar were bulky, expensive, and power-hungry. The new ones were compact, affordable, and could fit inside a box light enough to sit on a kitchen counter. By 1967, the first countertop microwave oven hit the American market. It still cost about $500, which was a lot of money, but it was a fraction of the original Radarange's price. It did not need a water line. It did not weigh as much as a person. You could plug it into a wall outlet and put it next to your toaster. And then something interesting happened with the technology. The microwave did not just heat food faster. It changed the entire food industry. Frozen meals were redesigned to be microwave compatible. Packaging changed. Cooking instructions changed. Entire companies, Swanson, Lean Cuisine, Hot Pockets, were built around the assumption that you had a microwave in your kitchen. The appliance rewired how society thought about dinner. But what about Percy Spencer, the man who melted a chocolate bar and changed the world? He stayed at Raytheon for the rest of his career. He kept inventing. By the time he died in 1970, he held over 300 patents. He was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He received honorary degrees from universities. This from a man who never attended a single day of high school. And yet most people have never heard his name. You probably walked past a microwave today without giving it a single thought. You pressed the buttons, you waited, the food was hot. But behind that everyday machine is a war orphan from Maine who taught himself physics by lamplight, stood too close to a magnetron one afternoon and noticed that his chocolate was melting. He did not ignore it. He did not wipe it off. He asked why. And that question, that one small question about a melted candy bar, changed the way 7 billion people eat. The next time you heat something up in 90 seconds, remember this. Every convenience you take for granted was once an impossible mystery. Every appliance in your house was once a half-finished experiment in someone's messy workshop. The microwave did not come from a plan. It came from a man who paid attention to something small. Your chocolate is melting. Are you paying attention?